Humanity, the collective of human beings living on Earth, the third planet of the solar system. Over millions of years, humans have built a civilization that has become dominant on planet Earth. But despite dominating practically all biomes, humans are extremely fragile. Yes, fragile. At any moment, a new plague or disease could appear and decimate the population. An asteroid, difficult to detect, could be on a collision course with the planet at this very moment. Or perhaps the greatest threat comes from within. Okay, narrator, thank you very much for this wonderful and positive message about humanity. But in reality, all of this makes sense, at least in terms of species. We will be taking great risks as long as we are all on the same planet. I don't know if you've heard that phrase that says never to put all your eggs in one basket, but that's exactly what we're doing, not by choice. The greatest goal of humans, even if not consciously, is to survive. That's what we and practically all living beings have been trying to do for over 3 billion years. And to ensure that this works out, we need to become an interplanetary species. We could go to the moon or establish a floating colony above the clouds of Venus, but no place beats Mars among all the rocky planets in the solar system. Mars is not only the most similar to Earth but is also within the habitable zone. So what do we need to turn Mars into a second Earth? When we talk about terraforming a planet, fundamentally, we are talking about having a breathable atmosphere. This is the first step and is probably the most important of all. Currently, the Martian atmosphere is more than 100 times less dense than that of Earth, so it's impossible to survive without spacesuits. The first step to thickening this atmosphere, however, is not to worry about thickening the Martian atmosphere until it becomes an Earth-like atmosphere. In fact, we only need to make the Martian atmosphere 10 times denser to be able to survive without pressurized spacesuits, although still with oxygen masks. This value is known as the Armstrong limit and is basically the limit of atmospheric pressure at which the water in the human body starts to evaporate, and exposure below this limit is fatal. It's because of the Armstrong limit that some people have suggested underground colonies on Mars. As you dig deeper, the atmospheric pressure increases because there's more atmosphere above you. There's a depth on Mars where the atmospheric pressure exceeds the Armstrong limit, allowing future astronauts to live without custom suits. But there's a problem. This hole would need to be about 20 kilometers deep for the atmospheric pressure at the bottom to match that at the top of Everest. If the problem isn't clear yet, this is the location of the Kola borehole, the deepest hole ever drilled by humans. It's a little over 12 kilometers deep. Digging such deep holes on Earth is already difficult, so imagine doing it on Mars. Living in a hole is not ideal. The ideal is to transform the entire planet into something habitable. This idea behind terraforming. First, we build an atmosphere, then we increase the temperature, and finally, we build a magnetosphere. So let's quickly look for solutions for our first ingredient, the atmosphere. There are various ideas for gases we can add to the atmosphere, as well as different mechanisms designed to do this. But my favorite by far is importing ammonia. Basically, the idea is to take asteroids that have large amounts of frozen ammonia and redirect the orbit of these objects to collide with Mars, releasing all that ammonia into the atmosphere. But this can be extremely dangerous for obvious reasons, and it also doesn't help that ammonia is extremely unstable in the Martian atmosphere. We can also increase light absorption on Mars by making the entire planet darker. This would raise the surface temperature, making the environment more suitable for life forms, and help melt frozen gases at the poles. In other regions of Mars, we can do this by using algae, bacteria, and lichen, for example. A study conducted in 2012 showed that lichen has impressive adaptation properties for photosynthesis, surviving for 34 days in conditions similar to Mars. But there's a very big problem. Mars has massive sandstorms that cover the entire planet for weeks. This actually creates two problems. First, during the storms, the planet's surface is almost devoid of sunlight, which would kill any lichen left on the surface. The second problem is that when this dust settles back to the surface, it practically covers anything we leave on the ground. But if instead of building something on the planet, we leave something in orbit, here come the ideas that seem like fiction. But since we're talking about terraforming, I think anything goes. I present to you the state-of-the-art in Martian terraforming, orbiting mirrors. The idea is to leave these mirrors directing sunlight directly to the Martian poles. With this, the planet's temperature increases because the incidence of sunlight increases, and gradually we evaporate the frozen carbon dioxide present in the polar caps. Carbon dioxide is a great greenhouse gas, and it could be the key to creating a dense atmosphere on Mars and, as a bonus, increasing the planet's overall temperature. There are estimates that the southern polar cap alone contains enough carbon dioxide to increase the atmospheric pressure on Mars by at least 10 times, which would already put us at the Armstrong limit. And it's not just the poles that count. Mars also has carbon dioxide in the soil, and raising the planet's temperature means releasing even more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, creating a cascade effect that heats the planet and creates an atmosphere closer to what we have here on Earth. We're not sure how much carbon dioxide Mars has in total, but we have estimates. With this method, we could be talking about the future of the red planet, from half an atmosphere of pressure to an atmosphere of pressure equivalent to sea level here on Earth. But as promising as this idea may be, building such a mirror is not easy, if it wouldn't be a prohibitive factor altogether. The mirror would need to have at least a 125-kilometer radius and would weigh over 200,000 tons when completed. Good luck trying to build it. But let's suppose that all the previous steps worked, and now Mars is in the terraforming process. How will we protect the atmosphere? Here on Earth, we have a magnetic field that protects us and also prevents our atmosphere from escaping into space. But on Mars, this magnetic field is almost non-existent. This causes the planet to lose its atmosphere over time, and we don't want that after spending so much money and time on terraforming. Here, there aren't many possibilities. We can't revive Mars's internal dynamo and force the planet to generate a magnetic field. The best hypotheses involve the use of extremely powerful electromagnets placed in strategic locations, like in a distant orbit. These magnets would do exactly what Earth's magnetic field does, and since they are strategically positioned between Mars and the Sun, the planet would always be protected by being in the shadow of the magnetic field. Yes, this is possible with current technology, but it wouldn't be cheap. It would be a desperate solution, but one that would have such positive effects that we will start to wonder why we didn't do it in the first place. In the end, we still don't have real projects for terraforming Mars, but we have good ideas and incredible engineering projects. Terraforming a planet would be the most difficult project humanity has ever faced. This is a grand feat that transcends our notion of countries and continents, and anyone alive to witness this process will be gifted with one of the most beautiful epics of humanity, the moment we build a second home. Thank you very much, and until next time.